In this episode, we look at first day texts. Point number 1. The Sabbath is a sign between God and his people. Exodus 31 verses 17 to 18 says, "It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God." Point number 2. The Sabbath is a symbol of salvation. Ezekiel 20 verse 12 says, "Moreover also I gave them my Sabbaths, to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord that sanctify them." Hebrews 4 verses 4 to 6, "For he spake in a certain place of the 7th day on this wise, as God did rest the 7th day from all his work, and in this place again, if they shall enter my rest. Seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief." Hebrews 4 verse 9 says, "There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God." Point number 3. Jesus' closest followers would not embalm his body on the Sabbath. Luke 24 verses 56 says, "And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment." Point number 4. His disciples visited the tomb on the first day to embalm his body. Luke 24 verse 1, "Now upon the first day of the week, early in the morning, they came to the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them." Point number 5. The women came to the tomb on the first day. Matthew 28 verse 1. "In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre." Mark 16 verse 2. "And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre at the rising of the sun." Point number 6. Jesus was risen on the first day. Mark 16 verse 9 says, "Now when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils." Point number 7. Mary visited the tomb before she knew that Jesus had risen. John 20 verse 1, "The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre." Point number 8. The symbol of resurrection is baptism, not Sunday worship. Romans 6 verses 3 to 5 says, "Know ye not that so many of us, as were baptized in Jesus Christ, were baptized into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in the newness of life. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection." Point number 9. Paul preached Saturday night and then traveled on Sunday. Sunday begins sundown Saturday evening. Acts 20 verse 7, "And upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech until midnight." Point number 10. The disciples assembled on the first day of the week out of fear, not worship. John 20 verse 19 says, "Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst, and saith unto them, Peace be unto you." Point number 11. The first day of the week is a good time to lay aside an offering for the Lord's work. 1 Corinthians 16 verse 2, "Upon the first day of the week let every one of you lay by him in store, as God hath prospered him. And that there be no gathering when I come. Point number 12. God blessed the seventh-day Sabbath at creation. Genesis 2 verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Point number 13. Our love for God leads us to fulfill or keep the law. Romans 13 verse 10. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Point number 14. Jesus did not come to destroy, but to fulfill the law. Matthew 5 verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Point number 15. When we come to God through his Spirit, he enables us to keep his law. Romans 8 verse 4 says, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after flesh, but after the Spirit. So in this episode, we looked at first day texts. Points to remember: the Sabbath is a sign between God and his people. The Sabbath is a symbol of salvation. Jesus' closest friends would not embalm his body on the Sabbath. His disciples visited the tomb on the first day of the week to embalm his body. The women came to the tomb on the first day. Jesus was risen on the first day. Mary visited the tomb before she knew that Jesus had risen. The symbol of resurrection is baptism, not Sunday worship. Paul preached Saturday night and then traveled on Sunday. Sunday begins at sundown Saturday evening. The disciples assembled on the first day of the week out of fear, not worship. The first day of the week is a good time to lay aside an offering for the Lord's work. God blessed the seventh-day Sabbath at creation. Our love for God leads us to fulfill or to keep the law. Jesus did not come to destroy, but to fulfill the law. And when we come to God through his Spirit, he enables us to keep his law. In our next episode, we look at an attempt to change God's law.